Spartans, welcome back. It's your boy Leonidas here with another video. In today's video, we look back at the old chess proverb, chess played perfectly ends in a draw. While true of the Grandmaster level, it is also true in the under 1000 ELO realm. This game consists of two players that were playing in my under 1000 ELO tournament on twitch.tv/bladesong81. You're going to see ups, you're going to see downs, you're going to see brilliant moves, at least for 400 level chess, and you're going to see some not so brilliant moves. Sit back, relax, and enjoy. But as always, hold the line until next time. Peace. So this game begins very standard for 400 level chess. Neither player knows exactly what to do with their pieces. They just kind of throw them in the middle. To their credit, they do put the knights out and they haven't hung a queen in the first four moves. This is already above 75% of 400 level ELO. But what they don't understand is putting these pawns immediately into the center, trying to vie for the position. White, to their credit, does put this D pawn to D4 at the end, but then goes ahead and pushes their E pawn to E4, which, why didn't they just do that at the beginning? Doesn't really make sense. But with this move, white now undermines their position. They take this pawn away from the B7 square, thereby allowing white to pin. White doesn't pin this knight, instead pins this knight. Black tries to attack. Now white goes ahead and does pin this knight. And ladies and gentlemen, you can see by the eval bar that white is a slight advantage. That's about to change now. This eval bar is going to start going haywire because black gets tunnel vision. Black takes this bishop, loses their knight, and then loses their rook immediately, and it is now down 2.4 on the eval. They have a knight and a rook for two bishops. White is just completely winning. And now the best thing for white to do is attack here, and after that gets attacked, you're going to move this bishop to e7 here as black, and then you're going to castle, get these rooks involved. But white doesn't see that. White instead attacks the center, which loses a lot on the eval bar, but it makes sense what they're trying to do. They're trying to take control of the center, trying to blow this up, then potentially castle and move this rook over, give a check. But after this, white takes, and black makes one of the cardinal sins, undeveloping a piece. If you can avoid undeveloping a piece, you should. What black should have done is move this bishop out here and then castle kingside, having some sort of a king safety, but they do not, and it's going to come back to bite them here in the near future. So black undevelops the knight, white castles, and white is playing perfect chess. Not perfect chess as in 3200, 3600 ELO chess, but for a 450 level player playing like they are, castling, getting these knights involved into the center, having this pawn be a thorn in the side here, potentially in the future moving this queen up, moving this rook over, having control of these open files. White is playing excellent. Black, on the other hand, is kind of making these unfortunate moves, but to their credit, black does undouble their pawns, has this nice little pawn structure here. And even though white is winning, it's still not easy for white to come away with a victory as of now, because all it would take, again, is black to just put a little bit more development out here, and black would be completely fine in this position. Stockfish wants them, again, to push this queen here, move this rook over here, but you know what? No queens have been hung yet. They're doing fine. No queens have been hung. Black, on the other hand, doesn't really know what they're doing. They're just kind of moving pieces. They should have left that queen on this square right here because it has a dominating position here. If this knight ever moves, there are checkmate possibilities in the future. Black should have kept that queen on a8, but then black does make the top engine move of putting this pawn to g4. White looks left, sees a semi-truck coming. Instead of backing up, getting out of the way, decides to move forward, lay down in the median, and get hit by a Tonka truck coming from the right-hand side, and hangs both the rook and the knight at the same time. There was some thought behind this move, though, because if black was not careful, this is what happened after the knight takes on e5. If black did something crazy like this, it is now mate in one on the board with queen takes d7. But you know how I know black didn't see that? Because after the knight took on e5, black did not do the only move that keeps it even by putting this bishop into the d6 square and blocking. Black instead pushes the bishop to c8, losing the game immediately. This loses the game immediately because after this knight moves here, you cannot move the queen, because if you move the queen, it is mate here in the next few moves. Because if you move the queen, say back to c8, all of a sudden you give a check here, queen has to come here, you give another check, king has to move to g7. After king moves to g7, you give a check here, king has only one spot to go, and it is mate. Obviously these are level 400s, they're not going to see that. White really wants that a pawn push. White pushes that a pawn forward and immediately loses all advantage. Now black has the opportunity to keep the advantage by moving this bishop again out here, blocking this queen from coming through, because that's really what you need to do, is to block that queen from coming through. And then in the midst of this, black decides to go with a little boop, pawn to c6. The second engine move, though, was pawn to c5, so there was some thought behind black's position, so I can tell that these guys have some sort of potential in increasing their level of skill in chess. The reason that c6 is not a bad move is because white needs to find the only position that keeps this game semi-even. It's knight takes g4, protecting this square. But we know they're 400s. They don't see that. They see a free pawn. They're going to take a free pawn even at the expense of the game. If you'll notice, the eval bar dropped drastically because black does find the check. Black finds the check. White has only one legal move. Black gives another check, one of the top engine moves, second top engine move. And now white finds the only legal move. And all black has to do is find this check with bishop to a6, and the game is pretty much over. But ladies and gentlemen, this game would not be a how to lose at chess if the game ended that quickly. Because after king to f2, black sees a free pawn, takes the free pawn, and loses the game immediately. They lose the game immediately because it's the same checkmate that we saw before. It is queen to d8, which is what white plays. King's only legal move. And now all you have to do is find the checks, give the checks here, and it's mate. And ladies and gentlemen, white is well on the way. There is mate in 3 on the board. And ladies and gentlemen, white finds the one move that loses the game immediately because it's, again, check with the a6. The king will be hunted into the center and it is all lost. But do you think if they missed a6 the first time, they could see it again? Not at this level. They completely miss it. They take the free knight, losing more than half of their eval. White takes the rook. And in this position, there are a few engine moves that they can do. They can give an f3 check here. They could find the notoriously hard to find a6 check. But in this position, black gives a c4 check, losing more of their advantage. White loses the game immediately again by going to d1, and it loses the game immediately. This loses the game immediately because after queen f1, you move the king and now you lose your rook and it is completely lost. You are down 6 pieces of material. But do you think black saw queen f1? Obviously not. They go ahead and they see queen. They want to attack queen, get that queen out of there. Queen gives a check to the h5 square. King slides back to f8. And we are in a fairly even position after all that. Yes, black is ahead by 1 piece of material and 1.5 on the eval bar, but through all this, through the ups and downs, it's relatively simple, relatively equal. And ladies and gentlemen, there's a phenomena in chess. Sometimes you don't see the tactic unless your opponent forces you to see the tactic. It's at this point, white decides to lose the game again and move their pawn to b3, forcing the queen to move. The queen could take this knight, which is not even one of the top engine moves. But you know that check to lose the rook that they missed? Well, since white moved that pawn to b3, it forces the queen to move. And when they see the queen has to move, they look to, where can I move that queen? And they do find f1, and they do find rook takes, and they do find queen takes. And as you see on the eval bar, this game is completely over. Black is up 8 pieces of material. They are up 24 on the eval bar. And it is just a matter of time before black comes away with a victory. And ladies and gentlemen, there are no more plot twists. While it is ugly, black continues to find checks, continues to give checks, continues to get white into a disadvantaged position, even sacrificing a full bishop to bring the king over to the side, promoting a queen. And you know what they say, ladies and gentlemen, up 24 pieces of material, chess wouldn't be played perfectly unless it ended in a draw.